right, we're back. My name is Jesse, and today we're going to continue the series on the different types of residential solar systems. In the last video, we talked about grid-tied string inverter systems. In this one, we're going to focus on grid-tied microinverter systems. I wrote down Enphase there just because it's a really common, popular one, but there's many other types of microinverter systems. So I'll follow the same type of format where I'll kind of go over some key terms, some core components, and then we'll walk through the mechanisms of what's happening, and then we'll talk about the pros, cons, and then we'll kind of wrap this one up. So we'll zoom in here and we'll get started. We're zoomed in here, and I'll just say that if you didn't watch the first video, I highly recommend you watch that video first. It's going to give you a lot of context as to what we're going over in this video. In the first video, we talk about all the terms, the components, so it's just going to help you better understand everything that we're going over in this video. And I'll try to leave a link somewhere up here on the top, so you can check out that video first. So we'll kind of go over kind of the components first. And if you watched our last video, on our house in the last video, we just had one big array. It was 10 solar panels, 400 watts each solar panel. So we had one 4,000 watt array that was going into our string inverter. However, in this example, we're going to pretend that we can't fit 10 solar panels on this side of the roof here. We can only fit 5. But we can fit another 5 over here. We can fit 2 more solar panels on the back. We can fit 2 more solar panels on the front. And then we can fit 1 more over here in the corner. So we're going to have a total of 5, 10, 12, 14, 15 400 watt solar panels. So 15 times 400 will give us 6,000 watts of solar on this house here, on this system. And because we have microinverters, we're no longer going to need the string inverter that we had here. Each one of our 15 solar panels is going to have a microinverter just like this one right here. This is an Enphase IQ8 Plus. Because we're sticking with the Enphase, we're just going to kind of use this as an example, but you'll see a bunch of different brands, but they'll look somewhat similar like this. You'll have your inputs for your DC. This is where our solar panel is going to hook up. Each one of these will be mounted somewhere on the back of a solar panel. And our solar panels, MC4 connectors, will connect right onto this plug here, where we would connect our DC inputs. So we would have DC power coming from, or DC current coming from our solar panels. Our microinverter converts that DC current to alternating current. And the alternating current comes right out of this little plug here. And this little plug has a branch connector, I think is what they call them. But it's just 2 wires that connect here, and they go to the next microinverter, which is then going to the next one and the next one. And eventually you'll have, at the end of this, you'll have 2 wires that will go to our combiner box. And so our combiner box is going to take the place of our string inverter. And inside the combiner box, it's just like a sub panel. It's going to look very similar to a regular sub panel where you're going to have a bunch of bus bars, you're going to have breakers, but somewhere inside this combiner box, you're also going to have a computer and sensors. And in the Enphase family, the computer is called the Envoy, but I've also heard in other systems or other brands, it's called the Gateway or the Smart Hub. But that computer, what it's doing is it's tracking the performance of each one of your solar panels via the microinverter, because it's communicating to the computer. And it's telling the individual performance of each solar panel, and it's transmitting that information, the data, to the cloud, so you can literally pull up your phone and be able to look at how well each one of your solar panels is performing. It does a lot of other features too, but that's a big one that it does. And the other thing that this computer does is it kind of optimizes the current coming from all your different arrays. So this is a 2,000 watt array here. This is a 2,000 watt array. This is like an 800 watt array. This is an 800 watt array, and this is a 400 watt array. 6,000 watts total, I think. Yeah, that's what we said. 15 times 400, 6,000 watts. But the current coming out of this array here in the corner is not the same as the current coming out of this one, because it's a much bigger array. So the computer kind of optimizes all these different currents that are coming in from all these different branch circuits, and it optimizes it for one singular output. And the output is what goes to our main electrical panel. It'll go through this recording meter, and then once it leaves the recording meter, all that meter is doing is just it's recording how much solar or how much power your solar system is making. And once it leaves the recording meter, it goes to a 30 amp double pole breaker inside of our main electrical panel. And so if we have 6,000 watts of alternating current coming from our combiner box to our 30 amp double pole, we have 3,000 watts going up this bus bar and 3,000 watts going up this bus bar. And just like our last example, if your house is using 3,000 watts of electricity, well, your solar is going to help you with all 3,000 watts, and then the other 3,000 watts you're going to export through this meter here. It's usually a bi-directional meter. This meter here allows you to export and sell electricity to the grid. Now, the other scenario is if you're using your air conditioner, you're using the pool pump, you're using the washer, the dryer, all these appliances, and now you're using 10,000 watts. Well, your solar is going to help you for 6,000, but the grid is going to step in and cover the other 4,000. So you're only going to have to buy 4,000 watts of electricity. So the grid is always going to step in and cover what you don't. And that's kind of how this microinverter system essentially basically works. All right, lastly, we'll move on to the pros and the cons, and what's the type of scenario or the person that's going to want a microinverter grid-tied system. And in my opinion, the real benefit of the microinverters is their ability to handle shade and complex roof structures. If you have to mount solar on like the east side of a roof, the west side of a roof, the south side, the north, the northeast, then the microinverters are going to make the most out of that type of a solar system. Or if you have a lot of shading nearby because there's a tree, some power lines, a big building next door, or a house that's shading part of your solar array, then the microinverters are also going to make the most out of that solar setup. I think to kind of better drive home why these deal with shade so well, we'll kind of give background information on our old video. In our old video, we had our one string inverter that was hooked up to one array. And in that example, our array was 10 400 watt solar panels, so 4,000 watt solar array. We'll say that each solar panel had a VOC of 40 volts, and the amperage was, we'll say 10 amps. So 40 volts, and we had 10 solar panels. So if we hooked up our 10 solar panels in series, we'd have approximately 400 volts and 10 amps. And so on the string leaving the array, we would have 400 volts and 10 amps going to our inverter. Now inside that inverter, there's like a component called a MPPT. And the job of that MPPT, it's a maximum power point tracker. The job of that component is to take into account the voltage that's coming in from this array. So 400 volts, the amperage, 10 amps, and the temperature. And it'll kind of optimize all those to give you the max amount of wattage, 4,000 watts, ideally. It doesn't actually work that way, but just to get a rough idea, that's generally the concept. And so we have 400 volts, 10 amps coming down from our solar array going into our MPPT, and then our MPPT is going to fire out 4,000 watts that we can use. However, as soon as you start to get shading in any part of this array, in our example, it drastically is going to change the amperage and the voltage. And because all of our solar panels in this array are hooked up in series, it's going to affect the amperage and the voltage in that string going to the MPPT. And the MPPT, unfortunately, is going to operate under the amperage of the least performing solar panel. And so typically, if you have this 4,000 watt array and you get shading in one panel, you're probably going to expect 400 or 500 volts, maybe a little bit, 400 or 500 watts from this entire array that used to make 4,000 or 5,000. You're only getting like 10 or 20% of performance of what it's capable of making. That's how drastic shading affects your kind of solar array. There's ways you can negate that with optimizers, but for the simplicity of this video, we're going to exclude optimizers and just drive the point home that those MPPTs are looking at the voltage and the amperage coming in from your entire string. And as soon as you start to get shading in a couple of these panels, it's going to drop the voltage and the amperage too much where it's going to just crash the whole performance of this array, because the MPPT is going to operate under the least amount of amperage and voltage, and it's going to apply that calculation to the entire array. And so you're going to end up with like 15 or 20% of the performance of what that entire array is capable of. So if you want to mount a big array on, let's say, the west side of the roof and the east side of the roof, well, you wouldn't combine all these in series, because in the morning you're going to have good solar production here, but this side of the roof, on the west side of the roof, is shaded, so you're not going to have good production here. So the amperage and voltage is going to be really low here, and the amperage is really high here. So you're running into the same problem where when you had shade on one section of your array here, when you hook up two arrays on two different sides of the roof and you wire them in series to a string inverter, the same penalty happens. You're going to end up with like 20% of performance of what the actual array is capable of making you. So the option is that most of your string inverters have at least two MPPTs. So ideally you'd want one array being wired to one MPPT and then the other array wired to another MPPT. And so those two MPPTs work independently of each other, so it doesn't really matter how much shade is on this one. This one is still going to crank out a lot of power. And then in the afternoon when you're getting a lot of sun here and then this side of the array is shaded, it doesn't really matter because this MPPT is still going to put out a lot of power. So that's the beauty of these microinverters. The benefit here is these have their own MPPT. Each one of your solar panels has their own MPPT. So if this panel gets shaded, it doesn't matter. Your other 14 panels that you have are going to output awesome. It's not going to drag any of the voltages or amperages down on your entire string, just this one. And so if you have, again, these complex roof structures where you got to mount panels on all these different angles and orientations and directions, or you got a lot of trees or buildings nearby, it's hard for the string inverters with one or two MPPTs to get the most out of your solar. These are going to really shine because the panels operate independently almost of each other, and you could have 2, 3, half of your array being shaded, but the other half is going to still fire out a ton of power, regardless of what the other solar panels are doing. So that's the biggest selling point for one of these is how well they handle shade and complex roof designs. It can be done with the string inverters, but you're just going to need a lot more inverters, which if you're going to buy a bunch of different inverters, you might as well just go with this. So that's, in my opinion, that's the biggest benefit here with the microinverters. There's also a little bit of a safety kind of feature. When you have big arrays with a string inverter, usually they're like 400, 500, 600 volts, and then 10, 15 amps on the roof, which that's really dangerous. If something were to arc or a wire were to ground on something or stray, that's a lot of voltage and amperage coming out of that wire. Where when you have microinverters, the direct current is converted immediately to alternating current, so you're looking at like 240 volts, probably 10, 15 amps, 20 amps max, which still dangerous, but 200 volts at 15 amps is nowhere near as painful as 500 volts at 15 amps. So a little bit of a safety feature there. And then this last one, redundancy, it could go both ways. There's a little redundancy in if one of these microinverters fails, well, the other 14 or 15 that you have, they're still going to keep working. So you're still getting a lot of power coming in to your house. When your string inverters fail, there's no redundancy. If you just have one string inverter and that fails, well, all your 15 solar panels, they're kind of pointless now because you need the inverter to convert DC to AC. So these can give you a little bit of redundancy where if one of these fails, well, you still have 15 more of these, 14 more of these on the roof, and you're still going to make a lot of power. The problem with these also now becomes, because you have 15 of these, you also have 15 connections here, 15 more connections here, and so now you have a bunch of wires and connection points in the combiner box. Now there's a computer in the combiner box you got to worry about. So many more connections and failure points in your solar system now, where now that's you run into that problem as well. Where string inverters, there's just less components, less pieces, less wiring. Where these get complex really quick, and there's a lot of connections and things that can fail, points that can fail. So that's kind of one of the cons, is a lot of connection points. And with all those connection points, they tend to be more expensive. They're more labor intensive, these types of installs, because you got to now secure this to the solar panel. You got to make a connection here. You got to make a connection here. Now you have a combiner box that you got to wire. Now you got computers that you got to kind of link to your microinverters. So the labor gets more intense, and the complexity gets more intense with these microinverter systems. And then definitely they're not as DIY friendly in my opinion. And then these microinverter systems, they're going to run into all the cons of kind of connecting to the grid. They are grid dependent, so if there's a power outage in your neighborhood, a power pole goes down, whatever the case is, all your solar on the roof is, it's not going to help you, because you need to have the grid working in order for your solar to work. As soon as the grid stops working, your solar is no longer going to work. And then with any grid tied system, there's always permits, inspections, contracts, all sorts of fees that kind of bloat the cost of solar with an already expensive kind of type of solar. These Enphase microinverters tend to be more expensive than your traditional string inverter systems. If I had to guess, like your traditional 10,000 watt solar system with a string inverter that's grid tied, it might run you like 20, 25 grand, depending on where you live. But if you were to get an Enphase system that's 10,000 watts, that's probably going to run you like 30,000, maybe more. So probably like an extra 20, 30% more expensive than your traditional kind of string inverter systems. These microinverters are a little bit more expensive. And that has to do with how labor intensive they are, the complexity, and just the more parts and pieces and connections you got to make. And then I think, I think we covered almost everything. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them in the chat, and then we'll go over them, or we'll try and make a video. Catch you guys on the next one.